The irony is sticking up the cut with a knife this week. It turns out that when you spend years shouting about the deep state, the end game isn't actually dismantling it. It's just remodeling it with gold trim, a massive defense budget, and your own people sitting in the swivel chairs. And if you stepped away from the news cycle to watch the kickoff of the World Cup, here's your alternative, highly ironic wrap-up of what went down in Washington this week. Remember when the intelligence community was the ultimate villain? Well, after facing massive pushback for trying to install loyalist ally Bill Pulte as acting director of national intelligence, the White House has pivoted. The new nominee to head up the nation's top intelligence office, well, that's Jay Clayton, the former head of the SEC and a veteran Wall Street regulator. Because nothing says destroying the entrenched federal bureaucracy quite like putting a corporate lawyer in charge of the nation's literal spies. And meanwhile, current FBI Director Kash Patel is staying busy by slapping the Atlantic with a casual $250 million defamation lawsuit. And the bureaucratic swamp isn't gone, it just traded the trench coat for a tailored power suit. For a crowd that built its brand on being anti-interventionist and anti-military industrial complex, things have been incredibly tense on the global stage. And after a chaotic week of exchanging fire with Iran near the Strait of Hormuz, which had the UN panicking about global food security and skyrocketing oil prices, the administration played a classic game of whiplash diplomacy. The White House abruptly announced it was pausing scheduled missile strikes, claiming the U.S. and Iran are on the verge of signing a peace agreement. And Iran's foreign ministry immediately chimed in with a collective, "Wait, what? We haven't agreed to anything." And it's the ultimate insider statecraft move, using social media to manifest a foreign policy victory while the actual Pentagon keeps the naval blockades firmly in place. If you want to know who the real establishment is now, look at the math. This week, the administration locked in a massive $70 billion funding bill for ICE and CBP to secure immigration crackdowns for the rest of the term. But the real kicker is the push for a looming $350 billion reconciliation bill. And the administration is demanding Congress bypass the traditional Senate filibuster to fund high-tech military hardware like a Golden Dome missile defense system and a Golden Fleet of Trump-class battleships. When old guard Republicans like Mitch McConnell and Susan Collins are the ones publicly complaining that the executive branch is trying to ram through massive military spending via sneaky budget loopholes, well, the transformation into the ultimate federal juggernaut is officially complete. Finally, because no executive takeover is complete without a bit of aesthetic dominance, the $14.2 million makeover of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool was officially finished this week. Complete with a brand new nano bubbler system, the historic landmark now features a bright glowing blue pool. While the administration claims it's getting rave reviews, locals and historians are looking at the vibrant turquoise water and wondering if the deep state's final form is, well, just turning Washington, D.C. into a high-end Mar-a-Lago resort. And the takeaway? The deep state didn't die, it just learned how to post on True Social, buy battleships, and look great next to a blue neon swimming pool. Now, you want to talk about the absolute pinnacle of the deep state roleplay? The New York Times bombshell about J.D. Vance and the secret E-Files meetings is a chef's kiss to this entire timeline. And if you had told the 2016 anti-establishment crowd that the literal White House Situation Room would be being used to strategize how to manage the Jeffrey Epstein files to protect the president, they would have called it a shadow government conspiracy. And cut to now. And according to Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's new book, Regime Change, that is exactly what happened. And on July 17th, Vice President J.D. Vance reportedly presided over a secret meeting in the Situation Room. He wasn't there to discuss military logistics or national security threats. Instead, Vance gathered the ultimate inner circle, including Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, FBI Director Kash Patel, and top legal advisors, to figure out a PR and legal containment strategy for the Epstein fallout. They are literally utilizing the most secure room in the free world for premium elite damage control. Times excerpt reveals that Vance, acting like a true operative, floated a wildly unorthodox public relations stunt. He suggested the White House enlist Tucker Carlson to go into federal prison and interview Ghislaine Maxwell. And the goal? Get Maxwell to explicitly state on camera that Trump was never involved in any of Epstein's wrongdoing. Susie Wiles and the rest of the team reportedly shot it down. with Wiles later complaining to colleagues that the vice president had proven himself to be a major conspiracy theorist. And it gets weirder. In his push for maximum transparency to clear the administration's name, Vance actually urged the team to get ahead of the story by addressing a bizarre, uncorroborated decade-old rumor regarding the president and a young woman's anatomy. Wiles had to swiftly shut it down. One official in the room later told reporters it was completely surreal to be standing in the Situation Room debating that specific graphic accusation. And the leak shows a total breakdown behind the scenes. FBI figures like Cash Patel and Dan Bongino were reportedly melting down over how then Attorney General Pam Bondi handled the media fallout, with Bongino explicitly warning that the Epstein affair was on track to become President Trump's Iran-Contra. And meanwhile, the Times reports that Trump himself was completely stonewalling, snapping at anyone who brought up the files, and even shouting at the Wall Street Journal's editor-in-chief in an attempt to kill a damaging story about his past relationship with Epstein. The deep state irony is that for years the rallying cry was release the files and expose the global elites. Now that they are the ones holding the keys to the archive, the files are suddenly a highly sensitive managed piece of statecraft discussed in hushed tones under heavy military guard. Now House Oversight Democrats are aggressively demanding Vance, Wiles, and Patel testify before Congress about the meeting. The swamp didn't get drained, it just got reclassified top secret.
You don't think it's a problem that no one's ever found the tapes?
What tapes?
This is mind-blowing to me.
What tape?
For sure he blackmailed.
How do you know that?
Because other people who have seen cameras
Who?
have said this.
Who? I'm not aware of that. Like, if you know something I don't know, I would love to learn from you. Who said that?
Well, looks like aliens are real. Check this out.
I think we have about 4 minutes before they call votes to open it up for a quick round of questions. So if you guys can just, let's start with Real America's Voice.
How many species are you aware of? I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal, bipedal type life to, what I would consider as like sentient plasmoid life. But there are several that the U.S. government is aware of. Okay.
During the course of your investigation, it's been surfaced to the public that there's been a program by the name of the Makeover Constellation. During the course of your investigation, did you recognize that the infrastructure to support such a program for exfiltration of data from federal systems would exist?
Yeah, I can't comment on the content of that program. I've discussed on my interview in Judicial Watch that was a National Security Council program. And the secrecy started in 1954 through an Eisenhower executive order that created that infrastructure.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Grush, Kristen Fisher with the Endless Void. When you look at where we are right now in this moment for the disclosure movement, what's at stake here?
I think the sovereign contract between the citizenry and its government. I think the institutional rot that the lack of transparency in this issue is possibly going to cause an unattainable socioeconomic condition if the government is not transparent, akin to certain other. I don't want to say the Epstein files. That's a dirty word, but we could have that kind of scandal if we're not transparent on this issue.
And do you have any advice for people who are new to the UFO topic, the UAP topic, who just really don't know where to begin? There's just so much misinformation out there. What is your advice to them?
I would go watch James Fox's documentaries. I like the Disclosure is a great movie. That's a good primer. So, and I also, there is a declassified 1971 Australian formally classified secret assessment that a couple years ago was put in the Australian National Archives. I encourage people to read page 7 through 16, and that was the nuclear branch chief of the Australian government discussing the U.S. cover-up and the involvement of the CIA back in the 70s. And that's actually a little-known document that is publicly available.
Can you explain right now what the roadblocks are? What is preventing lawmakers, and if lawmakers want to accept this, from visiting locations that have been critical to reverse engineering or
David
other things,
Burchett and
that the knowledge is there, but the ability to go and see them is not.
I'll take a stab at that. If Congress says we're going to go to Area 51, if Congress says we're going to go to Area 51, everybody says, go to Area 51, Burchett. All I'm going to get there is a good dadgum T-shirt, all right? The moving van's already going to be there. The problem you have is is that these things have been moved into private entities, so they don't have a FOIA. I could FOIA Ford Motor Company, get her be, but doesn't mean they're gonna do anything. That's why they moved it out of the federal governments, and that's part of the roadblocks. Other roadblocks we've seen. We tried to get a committee. We've had staff members try to block us when we first started this thing with that first hearing. That Grush said that there's biological entities. They tried to move it into remember that Russian balloon that flew over? They tried to move it into that.
Chinese.
And what was it? Chinese, excuse me. They're all together. I don't care. No, I know they're not. But they tried to move it into that.
So I'm not sure what to think. J.D. Vance said he thought aliens were demons, and this might be the only thing he and I actually ever would agree on.
We're going to Area 51. We're going out to New Mexico. We're going to sort of get to the bottom of this.
We're waiting for it. We saw aliens.gov.
You know me.
We saw aliens.gov.
I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons anyway, but that's a longer discussion.